Morning everybody, we're on our way to Shiplate fishery today. It's a teams of 4, first round. It's all a little bit last minute really. It's a bit of a scratch team to be honest, and I don't think the lads will mind me saying that. It was sort of a last minute team thing. Somebody asked me if I wanted to fish. I looked at the dates, didn't really have anything on, so I thought why not. It's 6 matches. And I think I'm on the main lake today, near side of the main lake. The main lake is cut into 2 sections. You've got a near side and a far side, and we're on near side. So there's some big fish to go after. I've done a couple of videos there before, you've probably seen. A little bit earlier in the summer, it's a lot warmer. Obviously, had a lot of rain now, it's starting to cool down. Not really, it can be quite moody, so I really don't know what to expect. It's sort of a real suck it and see it thing, but as it's a team event, you've got to sort of cover your bases. So you've got to, I like to break the match down myself in my head into parts really. So I'll see where we draw. A couple of the draws in my section might have a method chuck, which I wouldn't mind to be honest. Makes it easy, doesn't it, if you've got a nice method chuck. But if we haven't, I'll set up a lead, but I'll probably set up everything on the sort of long pole and pellets, you know, up and down in the water, just in case for the carp as well. Then also a skimmer line, and then probably a short meat, and we'll look at that later. If there's a chop on down there, and there might be today, if there's a chop on the water, you can attack that short meat line and you can get some right brutes on that late. So I'm hoping that might come good, and obviously the edges, but it's a little bit rocky that side where we are. So I'm fishing with Tom Fick, Stevie Howell, and I think Dominic Sullivan and Russ Peck are sort of sharing a place. That's how scratched the team is, it really is. We couldn't even get a full 2, we've had to get 2 people to share a place. But yeah, it should be good. Got a good bunch of blokes down here, as always. See you down there.
Okay, peg 8, new peg for me. Starting on the method, going to chuck it in as tight as we possibly can to start. Um, it is a little bit cooler. We've had quite a bit of rain, so but I figured if it doesn't go, then what we'll do is we will uh, just wind once if you and take a couple of foot back in and then clip up again. So gradually what we'll do is start working our way back down that shelf and see if we can find some fish. So we've had a couple of chucks in tight and not even a liner. So we have took a couple of feet back off, and as you can see there, we're off the island a little bit, and that seemed to have worked to have caught something at least. We did have a flick around with a rig as usual. We went out 16 meters, flicked around a shallow rig, and nothing at all. Just not that sort of day after the rain, I don't think. There is a bit of wind blowing at the other end of the lake as well, but we're definitely in the flat sort of water. I'm hoping that won't hold us back too much. So we're off the mark there at least. We have been fishing for an hour. I'm pinging a few pellets at 16 meters. That never comes good either, to be honest. We go out there with a full deck rig and don't even get a liner really. So it's not looking great on these sort of long lines, but we know that this is Shiplate. There's a lot of big fish, and I never really worry. It's always won and lost in the last 2 hours. It's nice to catch early, is it? If you catch a few fish early, you sort of feel like well, you got every chance of winning the match. But as it's a team match, I'm not overly worried yet. It's about section points, and then completely out the blue, I think just giving that a rest and then going back on it, we've actually got one. That's took a long time. It's about an hour and a half in now. Not massive, but nice. It's a fish in it. Using a 30-gram feeder, I never use less than 30 gram now. I learnt that the hard way a few years back. At Todber, I was fishing in the £1,000 final. I think it was just over £200. Going back about 4 or 5 years, when the weights were sort of a little bit more sensible, to be honest. And it was one with sort of £210 or something like that. And I've had £166 on the meat short in the last sort of 2 hours. But I've chucked a feeder for 4 hours and I've just had it knocked about. I was used to fish like a 20 gram and I just didn't realise what was bites and what wasn't. I wasn't educated to it, but I have been since, and I've come to realise that 30 gram is the way to go. Any less than that, those carp just kick it around. Absolute waste of time. If you're on small carp, I suppose, or F1s or something, there might be a place for a smaller method, but otherwise, I don't know one. So it's died on the method, and it's always worth giving it a rest anyway. So we've gone out 30 meters, just having a look on our little meat line, see if we can catch a couple of skimmers. Figured if we can catch a few skimmers, then maybe chuck the method again, then back the skimmers, chuck the method again. That would be something, wouldn't it? For a few hours until they sort of rock up short or down the edge. I've got a nice edge here on the left. On this near side of the lake, generally, you got rocks. You're fishing on top of rocks. But this isn't. I've got a bit of natural bank, so I'm probably the only peg that has got some natural bank. The only trouble is if you look at my back and the fence there in between, you'll see like a bit of a tire there on the rope hanging down. There's a whole plethora of snags in there, I've been told, and the fish will go for them, so I've got to watch out for that. I mentioned it to John Hawkins, fishery manager, and he said he just called it a feature. So due to the flat water, it's not even really, solid with skimmers, is it? And at last we found one. Fishing silly light for them, it's 014, sensible hook, and white hydro. If we hook a carp, I want a chance at getting it in. And with meat, I don't think the skimmers mind that sort of kit anyway, to be honest. So a sensible skimmer, that's all right. 30 more of those would be lovely. You've probably noticed I've just let me rig in then and actually foul hooked a carp. You probably noticed I got my massive landing net out again. Um, it does look ridiculous, I know, but I have to say it does help with netting those really big fish. If you've got a 15 to 20 pound fish, um, it does help scoop them out that little bit quicker rather than just trying to get them in head first and all the rest of it. It looks a bit ridiculous on these skimmers, I know, but when it comes to those carp, well worth it. I have got two strong handles. I probably should have set two up again, but we got that carp out the peg, foul hooked him, lost him, and it's allowed us to hook one or two skimmers again now. But it's by no means quicker, ferocious, and not all brown ones either. Not all those sort of 2.5 pound, 3 pound jobbies, not at all. But we're putting some in the net, so it's all right. Long way to go. It's even smaller. Not a great stamp at all. Not too worried. No, nobody's really catching in the section. No, I have looked up to me right and seen Mark upon peg 3, which is a bit of a flyer to be fair, is catching an odd carp. Opposite there, you can see Stevie Howell. He's on peg 10. He's had a few on the lead actually, flicking the lead around, and but he's in the other section. He's actually in my team, so fair play. I want to see him catch plenty. I do like these small teams of 4, teams of 5, and things coming into spring, into sort of autumn, and especially in winter. I think it just sort of keeps you going fishing, doesn't it? If I had to go and fish, um, just open matches, in the winter when they're all the carp are balled up, if you don't draw, two or three of the pegs, you're sort of stuffed. Who wants to do that? So I do think these small teams are brilliant. I think it keeps commercials alive through the winter and such. Not this the winter yet, but this league will run into it. And we got another one on. Just giving it a rest look. having that little chuck out of the blue, and you'd think it is solid. I barely sunk the line, to be honest, and he was on. Yeah, I'll chuck out there again after this, and I don't get a sign. As I was saying earlier, so it's a 30 gram feeder. Got a nice little Drennan reel on there. We got our 10 foot free spirit rod, brilliant rods, and the hook length. Not messing about down here. I mean, it's just got to be nice and stiff, and it's just 2.0, and a size 12 Guru QM1. Same as everybody uses really everywhere now, isn't it? They're awesome, aren't they? Incredible hooks. Didn't like them at first, didn't get on with them, but I have to admit, once you sort of once you get into them, the fish just don't come off of them, do they? Incredible, brilliant hooks. So back long on the pole. Basically, we go pole feeder, and it is just poor, really. Then that's the sort of first 4 hours of the match, and then the next 2 hours of the match, we try that short meat line next. Well, can you believe it, really? Gone on that short meat line with a couple of hours to go. I'm not saying it's fast or anything, but I sort of dropped the rig in there, and it barely settled, and it went. So I'd been feeding it for about 40 minutes, just flicking a little bit of meat in there. But I do feel we could have been on that half an hour earlier. I'm not saying we could have sat there all day or anything daft, but certainly could have been on there a little bit earlier. But never mind, we've realised now. And these fish are just absolutely ridiculous, aren't they? They're all like, or the majority of them are like, I don't know, 10 between 10 and 15 pound, and they just put their, you don't need many of them, they just put their heads down. That's the trouble. They put their heads down, and it's a job to get them up on the shelf to land them. And then if you do start pulling too hard, they'll fin you. The fins will just hit the line. They'll dive their head down. The fins will hit the line, and you will pull out because they will like ping the line up, the hook out their mouth. Absolutely nutty things they are. Great fun though. Very exciting when you latch into one. They are, I must admit. I don't care how long you've been doing this game. It's very exciting. I'm just pleased to have a couple there now. apart from two sort of sensible carp, but two smallish carp on that feeder, 8 or 9 pound of skimmers, and that's really been it. But now all of a sudden, this we're in the game now. So the meat rig's a 4x14 rube, 2.0 line all the way through. Hook length's 018, and then it's a size 2, tuber teeny 175. Strung shot, as I always do, quite strung shot. Last shot's about 18 inches from the hook. I sort of always flick the rig out and let it sort of lie back in, if you know what I mean, into the shelf a little bit. There is a tree on our right, and we're trying to stop the fish getting into the tree on the right, and then we got the snag on the rope on the left. So we're sort of staying above the fish. It might look a bit daft, but if we go side straining on them, the blooming things run and they will get you in there. I've already lost a couple in the rope down there on my left. The first one I hooked on the meat charged down there and got me in there before I really knew what happened. So I'm just trying to be a little bit carefuler with these. Just stay above them if I can. You get a bit of side strain on them and they just want to go. I mean, the nice thing with them being such a good stamp, though, as I say, is you really don't need many. Like I say, there's no panic stations down here. It's not a fish race. This isn't Tob or somewhere where you need to be catching all the time. Not at all. Not at all. You've got plenty of thinking time down here. Good fishing, to be honest. I only really discovered the place over the last couple of years, and yeah, I really enjoy it. It's cooling down a little bit now, so just my jacket on. But yes, waiting on the meat. I'm having to wait on them a little bit now, but still getting an odd one on that meat line. Been potting in big potting micros of meat down on my left hand edge there for some shallower water, but not really seeing a lot down there at the moment. But that meat line is a good depth. That is, it's 3.5 to 4 foot, and yeah, they certainly seem to be happy in that depth at the moment. As you can see with these fish, it just looks ridiculous, doesn't it? You say, just put their head down, use their weight, plod about. Oh, no words for that. All the hard work done. That was about £10 gone. Like I say, that's what they do. They just put their heads down. Those pectoral fins just stick out. They touch the line when you're giving them a bit of stick, and yeah, they'll ping the hook out their own mouths. Absolute nightmare. Was feeding the meat a little bit by hand to just have something sort of falling through the water column to attract fish and such, but it's been all right thus far. But the second I foul hook one through doing that, then I'll start just big potting the meat. It don't have to be loads in the pot, but I will start big potting it because these big fish they start coming up off the bottom to intercept that meat, and that'll just be a carnage. You don't want to be foul hooking these fish. So strong, the size of the blooming tails on them, like rudders. Really, you just want to lower the pole and use your pull bung, and then just lift up and they're there, aren't they? But you just don't. The second you try and give that sort of side strain on these here, and they're down, they're in those snags on either side. So the meat finally slowed a little bit. I didn't want to kill it all together and sort of fish everything out, but we waited quite a while and didn't get one, so I potted in a little bit of meat and I've just nipped down the edge. And we got one again on meat. Ugh. Yeah, they really are a nightmare down that ledge. They're not the biggest of fish either, the ones that run like that. They just, 5, 6 pound fish, they just run straight to that snag every time. You know exactly where they're going. I'm only fishing 6 meters down the edge, so on the snag's like, I don't know, 10 meters away, 12 meters. So back on the meat and we hook one. At least we've got a chance of getting it out, haven't we, if we hook it on the meat line. Just take your time. Pointless running these rushing like these big fish. All on 8 mil meat, over 8 mil meat. He seems all right. Yeah, I thought for a second he was looking at that snag there on the left again. He had his eye on it, didn't he? In fact, he has. So we managed to turn that one. Makes a change. Three I've lost in that rope now, and two full setups, which is a real pain. Again, just trying to get their heads up. They just keep going. Another low double. So another nice white fish on. We had most of them on the meat, as you can see. I think we had about three down that edge to the left. One of them was a nice fish. Sort of, he was as deep and wide as he was long. It's probably about 15 pound, an old common. And he was ideal because he just sort of swam in and I scooped him, to be honest. It was all over in about 15 seconds. I don't think he even realised he was hooked. But that was about the easiest one we had down that left hand edge. As I say, other ones we had lost. We lost two down that left hand edge, went into that snag there. You can see between me and the post. And we did have the first one we hooked on the meat, ended up getting us in there before we sort of realised what had gone on and how bad that snag was. But other than that, it was all right. Um, we did okay in the section. The result will come up at the end there, so do stay tuned for that. Um, it was quite a nice day's fishing, really. I mean, it's just the sort of last 2 hours, isn't it? And it's brilliant then. It's just those first initial hours. You know, I'm surprised we didn't catch more skimmers than we did, and I do sort of wonder, should I just fish conventional, worm and ground bait and such, and maybe I'd have had more of them. But lovely days fishing anyway. There's another one, a bit of a wallower, look. Ideal.